They hide the truth beneath a mountain of lies. But the fire inside us can't be buried forever.
They pile up falsehoods, burying our cries. One by one we dig where the evidence lies. Nesters in the shadows, piecing every clue, shining light on secrets that they never wanted you to view. Smoke and mirrors crumble under our gaze. We won't back down, we're done with their maze. The ops unravel, media feeding gloom. Kids didn't deserve to die, their story needs room. No proof, no confession, plea deals won't suffice. We're taking back possession of the one thing that's right. Truth Eeks rising from the ashes of their lies. Fireballs ready to drop across the looted skies. We'll lift the veil, ignite the spark of justice bright. Stand case by case and bring the truth to light. Whispers in the corridors, they thought we'd look away, but every hidden thread unravels when we slay their charade. No more spin from their headlines, no more silence cries. We're the voice of those forgotten, watch their empire collide. Truth's a phoenix feather rising in the flames. We'll trace every lead, break their iron chains. Oh, break their iron chains. Rising, watch us light the sky. Truth the weapon they can never justify. One case at a time, we claim what's ours to fight. Rising up together, set the world alight.
This is just the beginning. The phoenix will never stop rising.
Innocent. Brian has been essentially convicted in the media. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. So if I talk about things that are in the affidavit, and if I talk about things that we're seeking that the state wants to hide, I think that's fair game for the public to hear.
Fair game for the public to hear. And boy, we are here to hear about IDAHO4. This narrative is so busted. Whatever they tried to feed us, it didn't work. Here we still are, trying to decipher what is going on and what happened. What happened, y'all? I'm going to drop it to you today. I hope everyone is doing amazing this Monday afternoon. Today is almost Halloween. Today's the 27th of October, 2025, and I'm here to bring you all the details. If you haven't seen anything new that has dropped in the Idaho repository, get ready. We are about to go. But first, I'm going to say hello to every single one of you. Critic Rick, you are always on time. Lulu Bell, I saw you dancing around somewhere in here. Amanda, welcome in. I just have to say you guys are the best. Grammy, Vicky, Amanda, welcome. Dina, Holly. Here we go. I'm just going to jump around here today. There you go. Welcome into the nest today. Nobody's NBA. Lulu Bell, I thought I saw you. Rebecca, welcome in. Caleb, as always, welcome in. And let me see what you have to say, because I love hearing from you. Good evening. Hello, hello. And I need to say something that seems very intentional in this case. And now I am witnessing that with every new document drop, it sets the true crime community on fire. Boy, isn't that the truth? Because I'm beginning to see some videos on certain subjects that I thought was too taboo or debunked. And yes, the golf clubs are back on the menu. I have always said that mark was probably golf clubs. I have always said that a second weapon was used, and a lot of people agree a second weapon could have been used. Now, we're not going to see those autopsy pictures. You will never see them if they are released and leaked. You will never see them here. You'll have to go somewhere else to see gruesome and gore. I respect the families and the victims, and if they ever leak, somebody leaked some gore videos and gore pictures. They were all AI fake. You could tell they look like from a 1980s horror movie. So come on, you guys, get with the program. Get with the program. If you're going to leak something, leak the real stuff and make sure it is freaking good. To invest or yet waste our time looking at fake pictures is not in my, I don't know, not in my zone, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. So you see a couple of things up on my poster board today. And here and ready here, hey nesters, welcome in, honey. And you know what? Yeah, I got a lot to bring to you today. You know, sometimes I have so much information. I'm like, let me figure out how I'm going to roll it all out. And you know, you guys are the best because this busted narrative, like a busted can of biscuits, is all over the place. The mayor, within the first 24 hours, said this was a crime of passion. 4 university students had been murdered, horribly stabbed. And everything else has come out that they've been shot, gun rack guy, all this other crap. And we just have to say, why don't we just get the real details? Why don't we all just put our weapons down, our armor off, and say, you know what? Just give us the freaking truth. We want to know. We want to hear the truth. I am so tired of going to bed and waking up thinking about these kids. What if these kids are still alive? Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility? It is if you're in witness protection. Absolutely is. You don't get to tell any of your family. You don't get to tell any of your friends. You don't get to say anything. Was I almost in it? Yep, I almost went to the witness protection program. I even told my ex, you're lucky I didn't, so that you wouldn't be displaced away from our son. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it with my full chest. Does anybody think, like on TV or in movies, that you're in the witness? It's not like that, folks. It's not like that. You don't live on an island in a big, huge mansion, and that is Holly weird. Okay? That is Holly weird. And speaking of weird, I don't know why I am so freaking thirsty today. It's like I cannot quench my thirst. And I drink a bottle or two of this core hydration. It's perfectly balanced pH. This is no sponsored show. I'm just saying that I had just been extra thirsty. It's so weird. I don't know if it's after that full moon. I don't know if we're in Mercury retrograde or what, but I have been, and believe me, I'm past menopause, but I'm just saying that I have been excessively hot. I thought maybe I had the flu going on for a few days. Well, matter of fact, I knew I had the flu. I just wasn't sure why I kept getting so thirsty. But I'm telling you, this case, if it has you up at night, I just want to have a good night's sleep. Just one night. Now, with that being said, I had to put something in my mouth because I'm just so freaking thirsty. I got this little cherry bomb, sour ball, whatever. So, I have to say, if these answers are not answering up, what do we do? Do we move on to a new case and stop talking about this case? Or, I mean, I bring you facts and evidence, okay? I'm not here just trying to entertain you and think outside the box and throw everything out there that everybody else has talked about. I bring you things that are up to date and try to connect the dots where they lie in the past. Now, keep in mind, I have always followed this case. I have never always reported on it. And if you look back at my TikTok, you can see that I've done a lot of cases, actually been involved in some cases. But I want to say this here. This busted narrative is so busted. The more information that we get, I honestly don't think this case is about Brian Koberger. I honestly do not. Why? Well, the FBI and the ISP were ready to come to court and say there was no data on this guy. He wasn't stalking. He wasn't doing this. Then what was this case about? What was this case about? I touched on it a little bit this morning. I'll go into further detail. But first of all, if you have not seen the new document that they updated in the case summary in this case against Brian Koberger, now with interest, yes, they took a penalty of interest. Now he owes up to $300,000 plus in restitution. And interest is occurring. Bam. There's something about all this money. Dropping $300K on a case of no confession, no proffer, no details, no nothing. Like President Trump said, there's no nothing. What is going on? Now, we know I brought this to you a while back. I brought to you that Ann Taylor went into private practice. We know that she is legally still on this case, even though in private practice. Once you're assigned attorney, she can come back, and because she is the attorney of record still, if you look in the repository, they are still on this case. Now, whether she's being paid or not, we don't know. But she is the attorney in record on this case, along with the other attorneys. And I have a feeling that they know that this client is factually innocent. And they will do whatever it takes to make sure that they stay on this until he is exonerated, in my humble opinion. Okay? I don't know what you can think about it, but I think that they know he is factually innocent, and there are good people left in this world that will fight for people who were factually innocent. With that being said, you have to look at the repository, and this says clearly, notice of hearing. Let me share this little tab with you. Notice of hearing is going to be a remote. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Duh. Let me just grab the right one. Notice of hearing is going to be via Zoom. So none of these attorneys are really like spending a fortune to travel back to Idaho, to sit in the courtroom all day long, travel there and back. No, this is a Zoom hearing. Remember during COVID? Yeah, COVID, everything was held Zoom. It could be pro bono. Absolutely. Good attorneys step up to the plate. And if they know your client is factually innocent, they will do it pro bono. Okay? Whether or not there's something on the back end, who knows? We don't know. We're not privy to those conversations. But in regards to this hearing, it will be on Zoom, and that'll be November the 5th, 2025 via Zoom. Okay? So it's not like I have to get dressed, put my suit on, get in the car. If I was an attorney, have to drive, fight traffic, or travel from out of state. All of the attorneys that were listed on here will be attending via Zoom. Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money to get on the computer, wake up, throw a jacket on, put your hair on, put some makeup on, and get there. Okay? Not a lot of money. Now, we don't know if he's still retaining them, but we do know, period, they are the attorneys of record. Now, are any of these attorneys appellate attorneys? One may be. I haven't verified yet, but I have showed you the past attorneys' histories, what their specialties are, who they've won in the death penalty cases. We went over this a while back ago on a live. And most of my information I do give you live. I'm not that great at making videos. I'd rather show you when I'm talking about it, and it's a done deal. I don't have to spend 20 hours editing one video, okay? I'm not good at that. I try my best. But when I have a video that I can't go live, I definitely throw something together and put it up there. So I'm sure they will all appear, and they are his attorneys of record. Okay. Now, since this is not matching up, and we know that no names that I can confirm are regarding any type of serious drug connection, it leads me to look at my other options. And what were those other options? Well, in the beginning, if you haven't seen my live from this morning, I highly recommend that you go and check it out. This morning, I showed you a picture that the local news released within 24 hours. So when I say busted narrative right here, 4 University Idaho students killed in the crime of passion. Right here, right hand, upper side corner. That's the information we got from the mayor before any news conference was released. The mayor spoke to the New York Times. Local news stations reported that these were the 4 that were involved. And look how young these pictures are, except for Maddie Mogan. I think that was a current picture. Look at how young these pictures look, right? And what I was saying earlier today, there has to be something more. It's not 100% having to do with the drug. There might be a component, in my humble opinion, but when I look at this, I have to go back and look at the MPD reports and the ISP reports and see exactly who they were following on my involved list. You know, the list I put together off of the Moscow Police Department. And these are the people that the police have deemed involved. And okie dokie, you are always right on the freaking money. It's like you are reading my mind. Who was being possibly trafficked or a lure, and who was possibly being extorted? Was somebody trying to extort Brian Koberger because we know that somebody called him a PEDO in the court? I wonder. Is that some type of involvement? I don't know. I mean, we're just here speculating and guessing and just throwing stuff out there that makes sense or trying to make a connection. But if it had to do something with this, then we are right on the money and we are following exactly what was trying to be hidden. Now, is this a possibility? Well, let's look at the individuals that they had deemed involved. And I'll start from the bottom up. We know that AE is Emily Alant. Why Alant? Why was she given involved versus mentioned like Dylan and Bethany and Jenna and other people? Why were they just only mentioned versus involved? This is weird. And this was something that kept me going down this rabbit hole. Why did Olivia Gonsalves say Brian Koberger was like a pedo? Why? Did something get caught? Did someone get caught? Did someone get caught and maybe extorted? Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. But it says EA was involved. Then we go, HJ was involved. Now, JK, I've talked about this one before, and it's been mentioned before, and I believe that that is allegedly Jack Katovich. Talked about him before. But we've never talked about the other JK involved. And how do we know who this JK is? Well, still haven't figured out who the other JK is, but thankfully, now that this document was unsealed in the court system, we can see some other names that were possibly involved. Let's just take a peek. Here's just a few of those names. All right, now we can talk business. One person on this list, right after AA, Still don't know who the JK or the AA is. I have an idea, and until I'm able to put that together with just a big connection, I'll hold off. So when you look at DL, everybody knew who DL was. Everybody knew. They were the first ones that said that they were involved in this horrible atrocity. Okay, we get that. It's possible. But then I look and I see who else was involved on this list. They say BP. Well, who is BP? And I see a Patrick Boutnier. Well, who was Patrick Boutnier? Did anybody know? These are new names. These are all new names. Okay, this was BP right here, involved, 11/15/22. This information had to come from people they interviewed. They just didn't pull names out of a hat. Patrick Boutnier. Who is Patrick? Does anybody know who he is? Well, I found one person, and he was a custodian at the University of Idaho. Yes, folks, still work there as of 2021. So, was a custodian foreperson. Well, what do custodians do? Well, they take care of the grounds, right? And then I look at all these other names that were employees in that division. I see a couple of names that could possibly fit some of these initials, but I digress. Let's go back to what they say about Patrick. Now, I've looked all over for Patrick, and the only place that I could find him was right here in being listed as somebody who just worked at the university, custodian. But what do the custodians do over there? Yep, there were early rumors about a custodian. This is probably one of them. But what do custodians do for the university? Do they crawl down in the tunnels? I'm just saying, what do? They keep up the grounds. They have access to keys. Drop some things if you were a custodian, what you would do at a university, especially in Moscow, right? I don't know what. Take care of the floors, swab, all that other stuff, clean, trash. They would have keys, access to everything, right? Typically you would have access to a lot of buildings, access to individuals. As a custodian, you might be on call. There's all kinds of things that custodians do. They run errands. I know some of them do. But I just thought it really strange and odd why they would investigate a custodian. I heard the rumors early on there was a custodian also. Well, that passed the smelt test, and it looks like Patrick Boutnier was on lab item 48. Was there another lab? Let me look. Let's see if they tested a lab 48. Probably not. I'm just thinking outside and trying to figure out why he would be involved. Nope, that was it. 48. So item 48 was Patrick B. No other lab. They didn't test his DNA against anything, I guess, because maybe he wasn't the individual they were looking for. So cross that one off the list and let's go back to the drawing board. Let's see who's next on our list. PC. Was there a PC on this list? Let me look. PC. I didn't see a PC. I saw a KN, definitely. That had to have been that Asian guy, right? Let's see. She did everything, cleaning and stripping of floors. Well, here was my thought process, okie dokie, Lisa. This is all alleged in my humble opinion. If something happened at the school, at the college, and they needed to clean up, who would they call? Who would they call? Who would they call? I know they wouldn't call Ghostbusters. I'm just saying. Okay. I know that they would probably call someone in charge. And JD on this list is not Jack DeCur. This individual is James Deskin, which we see, Deskins, right here, who's another cleaning guy, which thought, holy crap, how many cleaning guys are they going to go and investigate on these lists? Isn't this wild? Look, James Deskins. He just happens to be the manager of maintenance manager at U of I. How possible is this? A maintenance manager for apartment properties, 20 years in IT telecommunications, and has a connection in some really odd places. Okay? So guys, I can't make this up. Okay? A meat clerk at Walmart in Pullman, Washington. A maintenance worker at Mercy Housing full-time. A maintenance guy, James Deskins. I don't know who else that he did leasing for, but it does say Aaron Sales and Leasing Ownership. Maintenance, apartments, and design complex in Moscow. I wonder who this individual was, because the state listed him as lab item 50. They must have tested him for something. I don't know what lab item 50 was tested against, but if I really wanted to know, I would show you in these documents. Now, I'm going to show you just a little tidbit. I'm going to get into it probably in a few days because I'm still working on this. But if you look at references in court documents, there is lab items referenced in the court documents. And that's when I said, if you're getting ready to look at certain things, you have to look at the court documents, because the court documents tell you what labs they were and who was going to come and testify on these labs. This profile was James Deskins. He is in Idaho. He is a maintenance manager, and he knows cleanup. Maintenance manager, cleanup. Now, I don't know if these two individuals or this one individual was the one that found the blood in the 500 Queen Road, but this gentleman was listed in lab item 50. So in order to go to lab item 50, you can go back to MPD and you can search the item number. And I'll do this real quick for a cross-reference so you can see. It's time consuming. I've got some more information coming on this. So item 280 on MPD that it references right here in the beginning, MPD item 280. It's a swab. It just says DNA swab. And on this DNA swab, it coincides with a gentleman named James Deskin, lab item 50. And I'll show you actually on the report, you'll see 280. Here it is. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. And item 280 says a swab with the last name of D. Okay, and that was done on December the 2nd. So this was probably after they started investigating, and then they go and they say, okay, we're going to test this person if they agree to give us their DNA. If not, they have to go get a warrant and they have to have some reasons. So they got the swab of B and D within days. And that was on the state's exhibit 3 of these two individuals, 278 and 280. Okay. So those people were on the involved list, and I don't know how involved they were. Were they cleanup guys? I mean, a lot of people kept saying, oh, Koberger was the cleanup guy. Okay, well, I don't think when two people show up as cleanup guys in a report that the police were investigating, I don't think Koberger would be the cleanup guy. So, Koberger probably wasn't the cleanup guy. But if possible, these guys may have been the cleanup guys or the maintenance guys that were contracted out that found the blood on the shower curtain in allegedly Jack Showalter's apartment, because there is a document that shows he lived alone at the 500 Queen Road. Yeah, I love this. Everyone in that freaking whole town seems more sus than BK. Like I said, I don't think this whole thing is even about Brian Koberger. And I'll wrap it up at the end and show you why. So that's the next name off the list we can cross out, because thankful for this document, we still don't know what the outcome of all these documents were, but we do know that these lab reports and these DNA swabs coincide with other things in the court files, which there's some gold nuggets in here. Now, the next individual after PC, KN, there is a KN, and that's Koi Nguyen. Now, does anybody know about this guy? I mean, I have a little bit of knowledge. He's been in some people's videos, and, he's privatized his Instagram, of course. There are a couple of other people that, have come up here and there, and I guess they've put their private, their social media on private now, especially after I talk about them. I don't know why, it just seems kind of fishy. But this is one of them. Now, I had some videos before this guy privatized his account, and he does follow a few of the other frats. Okay? Now, he was on the state's exhibit, so it's public information. I can talk all about it as much as I want. And this guy is this gentleman we're looking at right here. And S488 MPD 276. So if I go back to 276, yeah, here's a DNA swab. It doesn't say his initials. It just says DNA swab. So how would we even know that that would be him? We don't. They kept a little this kind of sus and quiet until the state released these and released it to the public naturally. So, it's wild when you start benchmarking what they've given us and the names they've given us, and we're looking at this from a different lens. That's why I said this morning, look from a different lens and let's think about what they've given us. Okay? So back to the involved list, that was KN. I believe, in my humble opinion, that's the kid who lives in Boise and who the ISP interviewed and asked him why he bought 2 K-bars. And his response was to stay safe. Okay? So you can go back and watch that video. We talked about it before, the KN guy. And JH. So it says involved, and then DS. Okay, so I looked through all this. There is no DH. I'm sorry, JH, and I kind of have an idea who the JH was. We talked about that one. Not been made publicly, but they knew Maddie, and it was a frat member, and they say involved. DS, not on this list. No other names except for people who they tested. Reed Upmore, Mason Barstow, Donald McDonald, Keith Anderson was the KA. And, there were other names on these lists that were mentioned, but not labeled as involved. So, Derek, this guy right here, DA, He was actually the research assistant and one of the guys who was out with this guy, and they were clubbing it and having a good time in bar hopping. So they probably got mixed up in this, and they did test him. So Jeremy Regan was obviously the neighbor walking the dog that saw the panties and the cork in the street and didn't think, anything of it. Nobody went and checked. I don't know if they were ever bagged for evidence. I didn't see any. And I want to be very clear with these. We do not know what the outcome of these lab items were, because they don't tell us if it was the actual individual that belonged to this DNA swab or cigarette butt. We don't know because the lab reports have not been made public. These lab reports have not been made public. So we do not know for sure if these guys tested positive or negative to these items in these labs. And with that being said, there is a document that this lab item 1, because there's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1. They tested several people to see whose DNA it was. And if you remember, Judge Hippler had in his order that it couldn't be any of the guys that they named, those 4 guys that they named, because they didn't match the DNA. We don't know which 4 that it was. Okay. So Jeremy Regan was the guy who walked his dog out in the morning, the law student, out of his own words. He was the law student. Henry Clark, I have not been able to find a Henry Clark. Anderson, let me just see. I think I found Jim Daskins. Found Patrick. And I don't think the last person on this list was Donald McDonald. I don't know who that guy is. We know Mason and Reed, and we know the other people. So the only person is Kenneth Anderson. I thought I found him, and he was a basketball or a baseball player. And I'm not sure who knows him. I don't know how he's involved, but I haven't made any solid connections, so I'll skip that one for now. But everyone else on this list, it seems that we had already talked about previously or learned something new about them today. Now, following this list, this is the list that Moscow Police Department was working on themselves. ISP, different. And it's crazy that you say this. Yeah, Moscow is a great place to live, great college. I don't know. But let me tell you this. Some things that I have learned while going down this massive rabbit hole in regards to Idaho is some of these, guys, some of these frats and sororities, how much, and I'm just going to ask you a general question in the chat. How much do you think that it cost, let's just say, a yearly fee to be in a frat or sorority at the University of Idaho? How much would you say per year to be involved in a frat or a sorority in Idaho? Just a guess. Yearly. Just think about that. We've got some takers. 7,500. And we've got a 6,000. We've got somebody honest that no idea, no answer. I don't know. 30K, 25K, 5,000. Dues are almost as much as tuition. If I showed you a chart like this, what would you say to this? This was 2025's fees. Can you believe this? Now, I'm going to say this with a humble heart. I'm very thankful. My mom sacrificed a lot for us to go to private school. So from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, I went to private school. We had the option after 8th grade to go to another private school. Now, my brothers did choose, well, one of them at least, chose to go to a private school. I chose to go to public school. Look at these numbers to be a part of Phi Beta Phi in the college fraternity system. $10,000 a year. That's an extra $40,000. Yeah, this stuff is real. To be part of a system like this, I mean, they have a transparency document too. I'll show you real quick, because it is one of those things that I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it is costly. It is very costly. Look at this. Here is their privacy transparency. And basically, they're saying that this is a 2025 IFC chapter financial obligations. And they break it down. They break it down for you. They have $2,850. Oh, let me just choose this one. Hold on. Where are we at? Here it is. Which one was it? Phi Gamma. Let's just do Delta Tau Delta. $4,500 for housing costs, $350 miscellaneous additional fees, and $4,900. Some of them have optional meal plans. Some of them have $1,800 commitment deposit. House dues not reported. Includes a $250 subscriber. Unhoused chapter. I mean, these are just some of the notes from this. I mean, this is public information. Totally public. Costly. And some people are putting their kids, I mean, their faith in this, right? I mean, by all right, you can send your kids wherever you want to. Just, I mean, they know what they're getting into, especially if mom and dad was a previous Greek life member. They know what they're getting into. And what do you have to buy? Yeah, decor your rooms is crazy and outdo. Yeah, it's competition. So let's look at this real quick. I'm going to take this off the screen. I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to remove this guy we already looked at. I'm going to leave that. Okay, so let's take a look at the next thing. Now, I want to give you a trigger warning, because this might trigger someone. It might trigger you. And I don't say this very lightly. This is a possibility in what was going on in this state. Yep, I've seen Bama Rush, that's for sure. I choose not to pay for friends. They're friends for life. Once you're in, you're always in. It's like a GANG. Now, I will say this. If you've not been introduced to ICAC, is Idaho Crimes Against Children. Online, offline, any crime. And if you go back and you look at their newsroom and what was happening around this time frame, I'm just going to go to 2022. Okay? And let me go back one. It's kind of hard to go all the way back. But if you hit show all, you're going to see everything that is attached to, for the last 5 years, in operations they have been doing to get these predators off of the streets, off of online, against kids. Okay? We're not talking little, we're talking about distribution, we're talking about trafficking, we're talking about all that stuff. This is nothing new. They know what's going on. And if you look at the counties, you're going to get an idea all across Idaho. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Ran across a study at San Diego and said student claims there was an MLM for recruiting sorority girls as escorts, and the recruiters got commission. Unfortunately, it's true. It's true. Out with the old, in with the new. And if you look, you'll see some familiar counties and grants that were awarded to help fund ongoing operations, arresting people in counties for exploitation, passing pictures, passing audio, video, you name it. And this is a history of all the announcements that were prosecuted. There's some attorneys in this, guys. And yes, he was working on a project similar to this. Very similar. And you can go through the whole entire press junket from the Idaho State's website. And you can see they're still, just the other day, they're still arresting people all over these counties in Boise. Right? It's not just the material. Production and distribution is what they're after. And it's not just kids. Y'all, the statistics are wild. Not just kids. Yes, I fell down this rabbit hole and I thought, you know what? Something is not right. And then this popped up. University of Idaho, and they're talking about from their law school this exact thing. Traffic in the United States, traffic in Idaho. This was the University of Idaho Law School. This came right from University of Idaho College of Law. Human trafficking in Idaho, a growing issue, and how it can be more effective. This was an article, a law review article. And if you don't know what a law review article is, you can just go over there and you can see everything, current issues, child rape and the death penalty, presiding over the legal desert, the disappearance of rural attorneys. I mean, you can see everything that's going on. Okay? So let me go back to and pull this lab review down. So as I'm reading, going through this, I'm thinking, was there another study? Was there something going on that they were looking at in this area? What is going on since, there was by far, it's very hard to track data when you're looking at drug dealers. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. It's not what I'm seeing in this case. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have been trying to push it towards that. But what I see of and what Maury was going through was tons of video data equal to movies, equal to what? What was the motive? And then for Olivia to call Brian a pedo, who got caught and who was being extorted? That was my first two questions. First two questions. Who and who? Who was being extorted? Who possibly was being trafficked? Or were they putting a sting on people? There's tons of stories in this. Tons of stories. And it came out of the University of Idaho Law School. Okay? You can go and research this all to yourself. And when you start to see what the big picture could have been, it's quite alarming. There are certain things in these stories that just are crazy wild. And you don't think that it couldn't happen? It could happen. And do you know there are stories that the local news stations were sharing all over around this time frame? that I moved off to college. I met a guy who was pretending to be my boyfriend. He dated me for 6 months and he turned out to be a trafficker. Bender says that traffickers use 2 common tactics to victimize her: fast track their relationship, then moving her away from family and friends. Yes, folks. Somebody in Idaho gave them this story. She says, once they were flown to a buyer in Boise and we stayed at the Grove Hotel. Okay, guys, I've stayed at the Grove Hotel. That is a lavish, expensive, beautiful hotel. I mean, they have the 5th floor pool deck. I mean, you can go all out. Room service is amazing. I mean, think about it. They fly them to other locations. Then she says, Bender said her traffic then used force, fraud, and coercion to keep her in that lifestyle. She tried to escape numerous times. She was branded. Her daughter was threatened. She was sold to other traffickers. I was brainwashed and threatened to keep my mouth shut, or we would have an extreme amount of harm done to me and my child. There were times when I felt like there was no end, there was no way out. I just wanted to die. One time, the trafficking is advertised online. It's everywhere. It happened everywhere. It's on the internet, including Boise. It happens. Happens in every single college town, from what I'm learning. One time they took her on a trip to the Philippines. I mean, these stories are out there. And towns in southern Idaho are being targeted. They take them on lavish trips. Did we see anyone go on lavish trips in this story? And the stories just continue. In order to get free, there was an FBI raid. They finally knew they were free. They cracked down and they're no longer in that lifestyle. Send your kid to college and they just might be trafficked. Great. Great, great, great. It's a scary world we live in, folks. And do you know, maybe you could drop it in the chat. Do you know the ages that are highly vulnerable to be trafficked? It's at $32 billion a year for those in Idaho. $32 billion a year in southern Idaho, right here. Fastest growing industry in the world. $32 billion right there in southern Idaho. Do you know the ages? You know I'm going to tell you. You know I'm always going to tell you. Yep. The ages, the prime ages for kids, and I'm not talking just women. Ages is 14 to 25 now. 14 to 25, guys. Yep. Those are the key ages, 14 to 25. Crazy when you start to think about that, still at the college age. Yep. They all went to a couple of times. I've wondered about the sorority Mexico trips when there was a connection. Yep. A yacht. Right? Who's got yachts? Do some of those parents have yachts? I found it very odd. Very, very odd. There are so many, something involved in this for everyone. You know, I don't know who's trying to. Alpha Kenny's mom, don't know what you're asking. Maybe Les or Amanda can check that out real quick. I don't know. Where they meet exactly. Anonymous, thank you so much for that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They meet friends, become friends with people you just don't know. You have to keep your kids safe, even in college. And, you know, a lot of kids want to go to college in other states, and we just humbly think that's going to be the safest thing for them. And bam, it's awful. You hear these stories. You definitely hear these stories. They're true. And you know how I know they're true? By this. It's being reported. Idaho Internet Crimes Against Children. In their newsroom, you can go and look at all the history of people that they have arrested and busted. Do you think it's bad enough that attorneys are being disbarred, losing their license for selling drugs to their clients in jail? Think about this. There was an attorney that was sentenced to prison for 10 years for the exploitation of a child and having distribution and sharing these pictures. Yeah, an attorney. So I wouldn't be as shocked that there are attorneys on these lists that are actually graduates of the University of Idaho. I wouldn't be shocked. Not one bit. Nope. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Now, I went over this morning, and I want to be very, very clear with what I'm about to speculate, because this is a possibility. This is a serious possibility. I'm going to go through this one more time. I know you're all going to say, oh, God, not again. Okay, Phoenix, we know. This police report by Jacob Tesdall, I'll make my point, and then you guys know the famous image I'm going to share. You should know by now. This is my favorite one. Okay. I'll put this image up so you guys see it. Now, when we think of this, and when I review this, I think two things. Tesdall was giving there was an issue with my file. Please share again. Okay. Tesdall was giving this narrative, this explanation of what he was doing on duty. I want you to ingrain this picture of Brian Koberger in your head for just 2 minutes. And I want you to think about Tesdall's possible. This wasn't just for, hey, we were doing plain clothes, checking for drugs and alcohol. This was a victim sighting. Hey, I think I saw one of the blondes. I think I saw one of the victims. I saw at least 3 people, and one of them was what? Blonde. I recall one of the individuals having blonde hair. Right here. Bingo. And they were doing patrols between 9 and 3:52. Now, when I say this, I mean this in all due respect. And I just showed you in writing that Tesdall and Rosendahl said they were doing overtime shifts for plainclothes detail on the University of Idaho campus. What times were they doing this special detail, this plainclothes detail? Anybody remember the time frames? I mean, Houdini, they said was doing some type of stalking between 10 and 4 a.m. What? Wait a minute. No way. No, there's no possible way. Tesdahl and Rosendahl were doing plainclothes detail from 10 to about 4 a.m. What was Brian doing between 10 and 4? Could he have been working for Pullman doing some type of plainclothes detail? Was he working with the local PD in some type of plainclothes detail, surveillancing, watching? Is that even possible? Is that even possible? Maybe monitoring someone who possibly could have been doing what he was interested in? Was he following someone? Drop your thoughts below on that one. And then tell me, was this narrative really about Kohberger? Was it really? And this is what I've been saying all along. It is very possible that he was either following, who knows, speculative only, maybe Molly, maybe some of these these individuals that were listed in the documents. Maybe. We still don't know what Houdini was doing, and I'm sure they will not let us know. But if I had my guesses, I would say these people that were involved may have been one of the ones that they were watching, that he was watching, that he was trying to solve. It's all speculative. It's all theory. It's all in the records, which we still can't fully see yet. But any day now, we're going to know. So keep watching and keep waiting. And every single one of you, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I humbly thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Keep tuning in, keep liking, and thank you so much for everyone that has been tipping and giving donations. All I ask you to do is hit the thumbs up, drop some love on the way out, and I will see you back here tomorrow at 3:45. Every single one of you, be well. Yes, anything is possible. Absolutely anything's possible. Y'all aren't going to believe my next stream. So stay close. Be well.
They hide the truth beneath a mountain of lies. But the fire inside us can't be buried forever.
They pile up falsehoods, burying our cries. One by one we dig where the evidence lies. Nesters in the shadows, piecing every clue. Shining light on secrets that they never wanted you to view. Smoke and mirrors crumble under our gaze. We won't back down, we're done with their maze. The ops unravel, media feeding gloom. Kids didn't deserve to die, their story needs room. No proof, no confession, plea deals won't suffice. We're taking back possession of the one thing that's right. Truth heats rising from the ashes of their lies. Fireballs ready to drop across the looted skies. We'll lift the veil, ignite the spark of justice bright. Stand case by case and bring the truth to light. Whispers in the the corridors. They thought we'd look away, but every hidden thread unravels when we slay their charade. No more spin from their headlines, no more silence cries. We're the voice of those forgotten, watch their empire collide. Truth's a phoenix feather rising in the flames. We'll trace every lead, break their iron chains. Oh, break their iron chains! Rising, watch us light the sky. Truth the weapon they can never justify. One case at a time, we claim what's ours to fight. Rising up together, set the world alight.
This is just the beginning. The phoenix will never stop rising.